Hi, welcome back. Just a quick note before I jump into the video. I just wanted to say thank you for watching, especially if you've been watching all of my politics videos on, well, local politics here in St. Pete. It's not many people are that interested in local politics. They tend to stay towards the more national uh, politics, and I think it's good to have it's important to have a focus on local politics because a lot happens in local politics. A lot more that we as individuals can control, actually. Like, we can actually have an effect on our day-to-day lives by actually having an interest in local politics and by participating in elections or in volunteer efforts to get your preferred candidate elected to further your own ideals and policy goals. So um, thank you if you're watching for that interest, and I guess let's jump into it. So today's video is about well, I got my mail-in ballot today or a couple days ago. So I wanted to go over the the St. Petersburg 2021 election ballot. It is a it's a there's a lot of stuff on it. It's not just city council members and mayor. You also have it looks like six, no, seven charter amendments and a St. Petersburg city referendum question. So we'll briefly touch on the mayoral candidates and the city council members that are running, but we're mostly going to try to break down those charter amendments because uh, the legal, um, the way that they describe them on the ballot is kind of, it's kind of confusing. It's very not easily read by people who don't read laws. It's it's carefully worded for that reason. So first, we're going to jump into oh, the ballot on the screen. There we go. All right, so let's see. This is the ballot. So you can see City of St. Petersburg Mayor. We've got Robert Blackman, Ken Welch. Um, Nothing too surprising there. As you can see, we've got looks like the city council districts 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8 have elections this cycle. If you are, well, all of these council districts are open to the entire city to vote on. The primaries, as you'll remember, the primary elections were only specific to the districts that they were running to represent. If real quick, I want to jump over here. This is a map of St. Petersburg, and as you can see, it's got the 8 council districts numbered here. So once more, the primary election for city council members, each candidate was only voted on by the members of their district. So the person running for District 8, or the people running for District 8 were only voted on in the primary election by members of District 8. Same with 6, 4, and I think 1, and another one. But in the general election, everyone in the entire city can vote on these council members, which is something to take note of because the very first charter amendment has to do with limiting city council elections to voters in the applicable council district and making the changes. So I'll read it real quick. Currently, city council members are elected through primary elections limited to voters in the council district and general elections open to all city voters. As I just said, shall the charter, now this is the change that they want to make, shall the charter be amended to limit primary and general elections for council members to voters in the district, that thereby eliminating citywide voting for council members and to allowing a candidate receiving more than 50% of the votes in the primary to be outright elected. So basically, a yes vote for this charter amendment will make it so that in both the primary and the general election, only voters in this district will vote for the council person running to represent council or district 8. The same would go for every single council district. So only members of District 3 or District 4 or 5, all of them, the voters in that district will be the only ones who vote in the primary and the general. And on top of that, the amendment also changes the rules so that if you receive a majority, that's more than 50% of the vote, you outright win, which is of note because if you watched one of my last couple videos, Richie Floyd actually won with a majority. So under this new charter amendment, if it were to pass, Richie Floyd would have outright won as a member for the district of District 8. Also, if this amendment passes, you will see only one city council member election on here. It'll just be like for example, like let's say it was 2025. I think that's the next mayoral election. Let's say it's 2025. This ballot, you would only see whoever's running for mayor, whoever's running for council in your district, as far as the general goes, and that would be it. And any charter amendments or referendums. So that's a big one. A lot of people are talking about it. Some people say this is long overdue because, for example, you could look at District 8. Richie Floyd, he had the highest percentage, more so than anyone running for mayor or any other council members. So he won with 50-something% of the vote, pretty substantial. He's actually, as far as I know, he's behind Jeff Danner in the polls now. So the idea is, Richie Floyd has kind of been chosen by the members of District 8, but in a citywide election, he could actually end up losing. So, in effect, the city of St. Petersburg is going to choose who represents the members of District 8, or the voters of District 8. And some people say that that's not necessarily right. One way to look at this would be when you look at representatives to Congress, either at the state level or the federal level, those Congress people represent specific districts. Like, for example, our district, District 13, I believe, for the federal Congress, we have Charlie Crist as our representative, and he's elected by us, the members of our district, not the state of Florida, for example. And so one way to look at it would be, do we want all of Florida electing who represents us as District 13, or do we want, just us? So I guess, one way to think of it is just who should choose who should be on the city council seat, the city itself or the members of that district. There's a decent argument for either one. I mean, you could say, do you want, like, should the city as a whole vote for these people who are representing, in a way, the city as a whole? Like, these council members do kind of have a dual role of not just representing their districts, but also governing the city as a whole. But there's an interesting argument around that. But that's basically what it is who should choose, who should be allowed to vote for council members, basically. Number 2, establishing new processes for drawing district boundaries for election of city council members. Shall the city create a new process for establishing city council district boundaries that, 1, uses comprehensive standards for drawing equitable district boundaries, 2, has requirements and restrictions for appointment, service, communication, and accepting public comment, and 3, requires city council to be bound by commission recommendations unless inconsistent with applicable law. The new process would occur every 10 years and maintain the existing 9-member citizens commission appointed by the mayor and council members. So it looks like the idea here is that every 10 years, kind of coinciding with the census and the reapportionment that happens, I think the idea here is basically to it seems like the idea is to modernize the way that these boundaries are drawn in a equitable way, it seems. It seems to me that it's kind of more of a like, it's not like that big of a deal. It's kind of, like a formality having it here. It's just, should we should we draw these districts in this certain way? Should we, um, have this commission set up to carry out these district alignments or realignments, I suppose. Um, it's it just seems like an updated way to do what apparently they have been doing for quite some time now. And on to the next one. These are interesting. Establishing equity framework and chief equity officer for city government. This one actually ties into charter amendment number 4. I'll kind of just do them both. Number 3 is establishing an equity framework and chief equity officer for city government. Analysis of demographic and economic data for Pinellas County indicates that the region's economy would benefit from eliminating equity gaps based on race, ethnicity, or other immutable characteristics. Shall the city charter be amended to establish an equity framework intended to address those equity gaps? That framework must include an equity action plan implemented at citywide and departmental levels, regular assessment and reporting, and the creation of a chief equity officer for the city. That's part 3. Is basically amendment 3 is establishing an officer and a small program, I suppose, or an organization that would focus on basically enforcing the idea of equity throughout the city. Basically, assuring that there's no discrimination, there's no, none of that stuff. Basically, as far as I know, a number of cities have similar stuff like this. I'm actually surprised that we don't already have one. And number 4 is basically tied to it as well, establishing a requirement for charter protected equity funding. The first section basically says the same thing as the previous one: analysis of demographic and economic data. Shall the city charter be amended to require that the city designate charter protected equity funding to address those equity gaps and prevent that funding from being used for other purposes? This amendment would not prohibit the city from funding equity-related initiatives with other unrestricted funding. As far as I know, this just kind of ensures funding for the equity officer and whatever programs they decide to initiate to ensure that there are no gaps in the city government. I think, let's see, this only seems to apply citywide. Yeah, okay, so this does seem to be mostly for the government itself, for the city government specifically, the various departments. All right, so that's just kind of a way to sort of ensure that there is no either just overt discrimination or implicit, or not implicit, but you know what I mean. Just trying to ensure that the city is being fair in how it does its business. That's not a bad thing, I'd say. All right, let's see. Charter number 5, establishing new requirements related to city administrator, city clerk, and city council administrative officer. The charter provides requirements and duties for certain city officials appointed by the mayor with consent of city council. Shall the charter be amended to 1. Add a residency requirement for the city administrator, 2. Clarify that the city clerk serves both mayor and council and may be removed only with consent of both, 3. Provide the city council administrative officer with duties and protections similar to the city clerk, and 4. Make related changes. So this one's it's another one that when you read it at first, it's like, what does this mean? Basically, so from what I've read, this charter amendment kind of just it adds a couple things and mostly clarifies the position of the city administrator. It's like one thing here, it says adding residence requirement. Apparently, at present the city administrator doesn't actually have to live in St. Petersburg, so this would enforce a rule where they have to live in this city that they are a part of, or at least in part of the government, which kind of makes sense. You would think that if you're in the government of a city, you would live in that city. One would think. Let's see. And clarifying this, so the city clerk, it allows the council to have a few more powers related to uh, the the administration or the city administrator. And so that's kind of brings the mayor and the council together on that. 'Cause at present, I think it's all basically the mayor. It's up to the mayor's discretion. So, and then yeah, the city council, the number three would kind of just define their duties. It would kind of make it more clear because apparently it's not that clear for some reason, I guess. But I suppose the city of St. Petersburg charter, I think they write the charters when cities gain a municipality status, and that would have been like 1911 or something. It's a long time ago. I don't remember exactly how old the incorporated city of St. Petersburg is, but it's pretty young in American standards, I would say. Charter number six, or Charter Amendment number six, changing the city's charter review process to avoid conflict with redistricting and make other improvements. So let's come back to it. The second charter amendment, so it's kind of connected. So every 10 years, the city conducts a charter review process to consider the operation of city government and propose amendments to the charter. Issues occur when the charter review process changes the process for redrawing city council districts because the two processes are scheduled to occur almost simultaneously. Shall the charter be amended to resolve that scheduling conflict and to make other changes to improve the administration and integrity of the city's charter review process? So this one seems a bit more straightforward. It's just there's a lot of processes going on every 10 years as a result of redistricting and all related to the results of the census and so on and so forth. And so the idea here is like rather than have everything happen all at once, which could be kind of a clustered mess, let's separate it. They don't specify when the new process would take place. Just that I knew that it would be, a different time. So that one seems pretty straightforward. So next one, Charter Amendment number 7. All right, adding a preamble to describe the spirit of the charter and the city's governing philosophy. Shall the charter be amended to add a preamble containing a concise statement to describe the spirit of the charter and the city's governing philosophy? That aspirational statement will describe the city's vision, goals, values, and priorities while acknowledging past shortcomings and promising a renewed and continuing commitment to improving the quality of life for all citizens. So this one, it just wants to add basically a little paragraph to the beginning of the city charter. So that I don't know if people know this or not, but the city charter is basically the city's constitution. In effect, it outlines how the city is run, and it describes us as I think a strong mayor, commission, government, and it gives all the details, all the information you need to know about how the city's run and so forth. And so this charter amendment would just simply add a preamble to all that describes our goals, values, priorities, an acknowledgement of shortcomings, probably a reference to old racist policies back in the day, because there were plenty. If you want a more recent example, just look at the story of Tropicana Field and how it was built, or look at the neighborhoods that used to exist where the interstates are in St. Petersburg. There's an unfortunate, sad story underneath all of that. I'm guessing that's part of it. So that's interesting. And then finally, City of St. Petersburg referendum question. So this is not to do with the charter that governs the city. This is a referendum question. So this one says, providing city council with the authority to grant economic development ad valorem tax exemptions. Shall the city council of St. Petersburg be authorized to grant, pursuant to S3 Article 7 of the state constitution, property tax exemptions to new businesses and expansions of existing businesses that are expected to create new full-time jobs in the city of St. Petersburg? This one, not surprising. So this referendum would give the City Council of St. Pete the authorization or the power to basically give companies, corporations tax exemptions to relocate certain businesses or certain jobs, I guess, to St. Petersburg. So um, if you've heard a lot about, for example, Amazon a year or two ago, they were talking about, oh, we're going to pick a new HQ, and a lot of cities were offering various tax exemptions or various subsidies to get them to come to their state or their city to provide the jobs. It's basically it's in the same ballpark of this would allow certain corporations and companies to basically get out of having to pay taxes in exchange for bringing full time jobs. Um, and so, yeah, if you want, so basically, the way that all these amendments and the referendums work is if you like what they're saying, then you want to vote yes. So, if you want the city council to have this power to grant tax exemptions to companies in order to bring jobs, then you'd want to click yes or check yes. If you want, like charter amendment one, if you want the city council members that represent you or your district to only be voted on, to only be voted by your fellow district members, then you'd want to check yes. If you think that the entire city should vote on city council members, then you want to vote no. If you don't want this preamble added to the charter amendment, you think it's a waste of time or a waste of tax dollars, you want to hit no. If you think that it's a good idea, if you think that that it would be beneficial to the city and its culture, then you would want to, check the yes. So that's how these work. There's a lot of charter amendments this time around. I think it's something that happens every 10 years. Is they, or I don't remember there being this many charter amendments in the past. But anyways, I don't want to go on too long. I'll try to. So that's basically all I've got today. I think my camera's running kind of slow. I'm having to run everything off of my laptop because my computer kind of died. But life. Thanks for watching, though. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section. I'm going to link an article. It's an article, not an article. It's a kind of a breakdown of a further breakdown of the charter amendments from the League of Women Voters. It's they have a fairly unbiased breakdown of these amendments. It shows what a yes vote would mean, what a no vote mean. They also add their endorsement if they want it, if they want to. And leave a comment, like and subscribe if you want more of this content. I'm gonna keep doing this. I enjoy it. I like it. Expect a there's a mayoral debate. I believe in October. I'll find out real quick. It's October. I'll probably live stream it, but I will watch the fact and we'll break it down just like this one. This one will be a little bit better since it'll just be Ken Welch and Robert Blackman. October 19th, Tuesday at 7 p.m. It looks like it'll be on Bay News 9, so you can watch it live. Probably not a bad idea. I don't know the questions that they're going to have, but I'm sure it'll be something in the same ballpark as the questions from the previous debates. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. That way, if you're interested, you could watch it either on Bay News 9 or I believe they have a live stream on their website as well. That's October 19th at 7 p.m. Expect a video from me shortly afterwards covering all of that. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great day or night or evening, and stay safe.